So the Mariners just get absolutely smoked in this game. Like, it was just an absolute embarrassment. But let's get started. And before we do, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So now let's really get into it and see what really happened. So in the first inning, what happened at first was Polanco hit a single where Julio Rodriguez got to second base on an error. He did get the single, but then Polanco, he did score him in, so that made it a 1-0 game, and you felt that the momentum was going to be there. And then the first inning, just absolutely immediately, Emerson Hancock gave up an RBI, which made it a 1-1 game. And then there was a lot of questionable things happened. Like, there was a stolen base that was actually called out, but then it was turned back because of a challenge call. So that made Dunn safe at second base, which led to the 1-1. And then another thing happened was when there was instances where there was supposed to be a strike three at some point, which caused, and it made it into a ball. So that caused the more runs to happen. But fortunately, in the second inning, Josh Rojas, he got the RBI, and he has absolutely been probably the best hitter on the Mariners team thus far. And he did at least bring the game to within one. And then the second inning was when everything just got bad from bad to worse, where although Hancock was getting the strikeouts, he just could not get anyone out. And this is also because of all these massive errors, which led to these huge parade of runs. In the second inning, you got another run in, made it 4-2. And then Contreras hit a home run to make it 6-2. And then in the fourth inning was an even bigger massacre, which made it all the way up to 10-2 with home runs happened. And that was Adams with a home run. And then Contreras hit another home run, which made it 12-2. And that was a home run given up by Josh Rojas, who has pitched once again. And then Canzone at least hit a home run to make it 12-4. Now let's take a look at the stat lines for the pitchers. You got Emerson Hancock, who had 6 strikeouts, but he gave up 8 earned runs. He walked once, so if you take away the earned runs, at least he struck out guys. And then the scary part of the game was when Colin Snyder got absolutely just drilled. He had a comebacker that went right to him, and he got injured, pulled out of the game. So I would wonder if either Carlos Vargas will get called up, or are they going to call up Tyson Miller because of what happened, because he was not able to finish. Then you had Taylor Saucedo, and this is one of the positive parts. Although he gave up a run, but that was an earned run charged to Colin Snyder, he did strike out 4, and he did pitch well, pitching 2 in 2 innings. And then you got Trent Thornton. He pitched pretty well. And then Josh Rojas pitched where he gave up the home run where it didn't really matter anyway. And now let's take a look at the offensive side. J.P. Crawford was just absolutely brutal. He gave up, and he was like 0 for 4. Julio was 1 for 3. Samad Taylor didn't really do much. Of course, he was a pinch hitter. Polanco was just 1 for 4, but got the RBI. Mitch Garver was 1 for 4, didn't do much. Like, the only players that actually played well was Dom Canzone and Josh Rojas. Rojas is pretty much the only player that is hitting 412 aside from Samad Taylor, who hasn't even hit that much at all. And Sebi Savala was absolutely awful. He had a bad framing work, bad defensive play, and also he struck out several times. So now going into the next series, the good news is you do have Luis Castillo, George Kirby, and Logan Gilbert for your first 3. But the thing is, at least all of them have already shown their struggles. And they're going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. And now I want to see how the Blue Jays are even doing in this season. Blue Jays are now 4-6, so they're just in the same position as the Mariners pretty much. So hopefully the Mariners can maybe take advantage of their bad start, and hopefully Mariners can take advantage and try to win. But it's not looking good. Like, what you want going into Chicago series, you definitely want to go 2 out of 3. You do not want to lose that series. Like, I don't want to hear anything about, well, at least we won 1 game, because that's what maybe much of the Mariners homers might be saying. But I'm really nervous. Like Luke Raley is just looking terrible. Dom Canzone, without that home run, without the 2 home runs, he's an awful player. Much of our core players aren't really contributing at all. All the Mitches, except Mitch Haniger, is not playing well. So, and much of it has been shown. that this cheap ownership really does continue to plague this team. But also at the same time, the thing that bothered me too was Emerson Hancock was allowed to pitch 80 plus pitches despite just getting absolutely rocked. But yet you pull out Bryce Miller. Now I get that you have the bullpen that's just pretty much getting gassed at this point, but you could have still alleviated that. You still could have mitigated that if you let Bryce Miller pitch. So I think all of this of yesterday's win led up to today's kind of disaster because that forced Emerson Hancock to pitch just way too long. So I think all these small decisions by Scott Servais does continue to hurt the team. And it was just an absolute terrible game to watch. But man, hopefully they can figure it out in the Sky Dome, because at least the Sky Dome is at least an easier place to hit home runs, even though I don't know, because Mariners, those games are a little bit dramatic when they play in Toronto. So hopefully they can figure it out. But I honestly just unfortunately have my doubts. So I don't know what to expect out of it. But things I'm nervous. Like I can really just be nervous. Like defense is terrible. Offense is like, At least they scored runs this time, but now their starting pitching is just an absolute disaster right now. Like even our best pitchers are getting absolutely worked. And then backup catcher is already a disaster, and you can't really call up Harry Ford because he's still in Double-A, and he seems like a raw talent right now. He still strikes out too much in the minors. So there are really things to be concerned about. But that's really all I'm going to say. That's really all I really had to say was bad management, bad defense. Offense was pretty much asleep the entire game. Starting pitching is now a concern. But now we just got to move on to Toronto. And with Luis Castillo pitching, you would hope that Mariners can figure this out. Thank you for watching. And if that post game really did hurt to watch and listen, here is a post game from the previous game where the Mariners actually did win their game.